Alrighty. It is Friday. And hey, welcome everybody. We are, what, 5 of us today? Looks like Rob is here. What up, Rob? Samson? It's not at his station, but he has the best music stand. All right. Stephen LeBeau is here, or will be soon. Wayne's here. Kind of sauntering backstage here with Kevin and Michael. Hey, Bob! We need you, man!
You're on the air. Oh, I'm on the air. Oh, okay. I'm well prepared. All right. So I guess I might as well put this together. And
well, you can, or just sit and relax. We
okay.
don't judge, right?
No judge. I'll just set it up here. We need it. We need it. There.
So, okay, here we are.
Right
so,
here?
yeah, we're just sitting right here.
Cool.
We're just kind of filming and having fun. I gave you the shorter chair. I hope that's okay.
Yeah, that'll work.
Okay, I'll hunch over.
As long as they don't sink.
Okay, so it's Free Hands Friday. We've been doing this for a year.
All right.
This is our 52nd session.
Uh-huh.
And so you're on the line here, and this is Rob.
Hi, Rob.
Samson.
Hey.
Stephen.
Okay.
Wayne.
Oh, I didn't see.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I suppose probably what we'll do is we'll have kind of people just kind of come
Ask
backstage
questions.
and hang out with you, and yeah, and at some point you'll get to go back there and have a sound check or something. You probably want to check your sound.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay. So Free Hands Friday, 52 weeks. We've been waiting to ask this question. Bob, how did you find out about the stick?
How did I find out about the stick? Well, I was teaching guitar. I don't know where to look, I guess. I'm looking at that and this and that. So usually I try to look at my audience. Where are you?
That little dot, right?
That little dot, there you are.
Okay.
Okay. Basically, in San Jose, 1976, and I heard about, actually my guitar, another guy that was in a band, my guitar teacher, he told me about this thing that was going to be played, this instrument.
What was that person?
That was Jim Pruno.
Jim Pruno, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I recognize that name.
Yeah. And so basically, at that point, I was walking in the store, and I didn't know anything about it. It was happening the day I was coming through the store. We were going off to the beach, and we were going to just go. And they said, no, you got to go check this out. And I had a couple friends with me. Mm-hmm. And so we all walked upstairs and saw it, and we never left. As soon as I saw it. So I just happened to go into a music store when Emmett was giving a demonstration.
I think Kevin had a similar experience. He just saw him in the cafe. Just what was that?
What's that? Yeah.
So it was an old ironwood, probably.
Yep.
Old 34-inch beater.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Everybody's here.
Hey, we're all here.
So I was asking Bob when it was the first time he had a restaurant, right? Like you saw him. No, that was Alfonso. Alfonso saw him in a restaurant. What was the first time when you saw a stick?
First time I saw a stick was at a music store. I was 18 years old.
Yeah.
Doesn't really even know what it was. I was like, wow, what is that?
Yeah.
How much? They were like, $500 is a lot of money.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I thought, at least at the time, I traded 2 guitars for my first stick. A Telecaster and a Strat.
Do you miss them?
No. Best decision ever made.
Well, I was thinking of some questions for Bob. I know that we're online with Rob and Samson and everybody else here. If you could ask Bob Culbertson one question right here that you wanted to share with everyone, what would that be?
Wow. How can I play like you?
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one.
No, boy, it's... How do you can change character so well on stick. When I first heard you playing, you were doing a lot of like classical style stuff, and then I remember hearing Cafe San Francisco, and you had this one tune I'll never forget called Blue. Completely different than anything else I ever heard you do. And I've heard a lot of stuff like that. How are you able to change characters like that as a musician?
And as far as how do I learn the music, or just you're saying like if I'm on stage and I'm doing one thing, how do I mentally shift over in the same set?
Yeah, how do you? Well, it's almost more in the sense of you almost sounded like 2 separate composers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like
Well, I guess the best way to answer it, first of all, in music, I try to think of music sometimes as a whole.
Okay.
And then I'm going to get to the classical thing in a minute because that's a little bit separate. So sometimes even in like blues, or if it's this genre, I try not to think of the genre as much, and I try to like just let the music kind of happen. And sometimes I'll go from one thing to another; it just kind of metamorphosizes. So in my playing, I don't really go, well, I'm going to try to stay within a blues thing, or I'm going to stay within a thing, even though it may start out and end that way.
Gotcha.
You know, the only thing I find a little bit harder to do is with the classical music, because it's the only kind of music for me that I play that I actually have to play the parts basically the way they're written. And I know you can improvise, you can do weird improvised versions of classical songs, don't get me wrong, but to present it a certain way, like if I'm going to play Ave Maria, I'll try to play Ave Maria kind of the way it was written, or at least close.
Absolutely.
You know, and because we're on stick, I used to kind of go, wow, you know, well, I'm missing a note here, or this isn't right, but if you listen to how I'm going off onto a tangent a little bit.
No.
But if you listen to how, like, what, say, Segovia or some of the classical guitar play classical music on guitar, but they were playing from orchestras and they were picking notes and choosing and stuff too. And we're lucky, we actually can play closer to the arrangement, say a piano, like a toccata,
Absolutely.
than a guitar player could, because we're a lot closer to that instrument.
I never actually thought about that.
But anyway, a long story short is that classical music, I kind of have to mentally, it's a little different for me than any other style. Where any other style, I can just kind of like, I might fall into it, kind of a thing.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I don't know if Gene asked you this, and if so, I apologize for repeating, but I know you were originally a guitar player. Was it a weird transition for you going to stick?
No, it actually
Really?
felt pretty natural. And I even tell people, well, I was teaching guitar, and I think I played guitar for 8 years and then found the stick. And I would say within a year, I could do as much, if not more, with my right hand than I could with my left. Because there's something about this that's a lot easier than that. And if you ever like tap on a table, usually you can go faster like that. But if you're bringing your hand around,
Yes.
yeah,
True.
So from that standpoint, I found in some ways actually easier to transition to the stick. Now, of course, all the the independence or anything can get dicey, but other than that, the reflex itself, I found not that hard to do.
That's interesting. With me, it was oh man, it was a train wreck.
Was it partly a tuning issue?
For me, it was really.
So the right hand was okay.
For me, it was both, to be honest. Tuning, and for me, the right hand was real slow to the table. You know, which didn't make sense to me, because I was like, well, I play piano on my right hand.
Yeah.
Why can't I? But there's something about going up and down was okay, but something about going
that way.
Yeah. Let's call it lateral. But yeah, that was a little strange for me.
Yeah. And then there's the fifths on the bass side.
Yes.
But a little bit of advice for people, when number one, when I learned, there weren't teachers.
Yes.
But I didn't think about, I was just playing reflexes and finding shapes and things on the bass. So I wasn't thinking about, well, this isn't a real walk that, or that. I just sort of accepted whatever came out of the instruments was going to happen. And that sort of advice I give other people is just kind of play the instrument. To be a stand-up bass player is daunting.
Yes.
To say the least.
Yeah, it's funny you said, because that's the thing I've learned that now, to let it go and just like let the instrument find its way.
I mean, you do things on stick that anybody else trying to do on any other instrument would be like, okay, this is impossible, Yeah. But on the stick, you found natural things that come out of you that feel really good, and they come out.
Absolutely. I mentioned that on I think on my Freehands Friday, that there was a bass line that I do on stick that I tried to play on bass guitar and couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I mean, you could do it, but it was all kind of fell in the wrong places. So it's kind of cool to see it go the other way.
Yeah. I guess the thing to say is just why fight it? Even in classical music, why fight it? Just play the song, and if you get most of it, and the bottom line is, if it sounds good, you're going to get a critic going, well, really, this note over here was supposed to have been trilled like that, or okay.
Yeah. It's true. If it sounds good, it is good.
Yeah.
Cool.
Exactly. Yeah. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, actually quite well.
Okay. Do we talk to people here, or should we?
Let's see. Gene?
answer any questions anybody might
I guess
have.
we could go to it. Let's start off with questions. Anyone?
Can we hear them?
We're muted right now to make sure we hear y'all clearly. So I don't think we have a question, but I will say that it's very good to finally have you on the show, Bob. And okay, I'll make this into a question. What are you normally doing that it's so difficult to get a hold of you?
Good question.
I'm sorry, I missed the last part. It was cutting out. But thank you for the first part. I didn't hear what you were at the question.
The question was, what are you typically doing in terms of your performances that makes it so hard to get a hold of you? Like, I mean, do you tour around a lot? What do you do?
Oh, as far as getting a hold of me for just whatever, or like, well,
He's a busy guy.
I'm a busy guy. Well, and part of it, admittedly, is me and my family. I have 2 kids, and so I do. Aside from the fact that I'm, playing and traveling, I try to spend as much time with my kids as well. So I have a 6-year-old and I have a 15-year-old. And to answer the other part about, like, I guess this was going to come up somehow in the conversation, but I'm really trying to work on doing the Skype thing. So I hope to get that up and running pretty soon.
Yeah.
And if you have questions for me, the best way is through email. I honestly, I didn't even really understand Facebook hardly at all until the video came out, and then I kind of had to understand what was even going on.
Mm-hmm.
And then I finally learned a little bit about it. But I don't even, I'll go to Facebook and there'll be emails or some messages. I'm like, where'd that come from, and how do I get there? And am I sending a message, or? So I'm kind of,
It's overwhelming, and it's a little bit addicting. So,
Yeah.
like, social media, once you start, like, the first one's free, right? And then you're doing this.
Yeah, this is cool, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying, yeah.
It
So,
takes a while to get used to it.
yeah. So anyway, it's sort of my lack of understanding social media is part of it too. But I'm going to try to jump in a little more in the game and kind of hope I get it.
Yeah, it takes a lot of time. Yeah. And so this is kind of a different brand. So this is what's called a Hangout. So this is just kind of Google's flavor of a Skype call.
Okay, it's like a Skype call.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you do this on Skype with more than you can?
I don't know.
Okay.
You can, but it
And do you have
doesn't
to have
work the same way.
It doesn't work quite. So this is the way to go.
This is
Yeah.
more
Okay.
with groups in mind, whereas Skype is more like something that was meant for individuals adapted to groups, and so it's sort of automatically a bit smoother on Hangouts in general, whereas Skype is a little bit difficult in like managing who's speaking. Like if you have 5 friends in a group, you won't be able to hear some because somebody else is talking.
Oh, okay, yeah, and I'm thinking about doing small groups, like 2 or 3 people at once. I thought might be a really good way to, and plus it would help keep the cost down because I know that it can't charge too much money. So 2 or 3 people, then it makes it kind of viable for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to have some test runs and see what difficulties you run into.
Sorry, what?
I said you have to get some volunteers to help you with test runs to see what kind of problems you might run into.
Yeah. Yeah. Well. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. What was the gig? You got a gig in Lancaster here.
Yeah. I'm just a festival. Art festival.
And you do a lot of festivals?
Yeah, not quite as many as I used to. I've been getting a regular gig in San Francisco where I play out at Pier 39 at the entrance. I like that. They set me all up there. They have everything pretty much for it, and they even have the business off any outside speakers or anything. So it's actually not bad. You know, if you come out and watch, you kind of have to stand there. There's not a lot of places to sit.
Yeah, I'm sure the Stickists were there. They'd be doing the same thing. Like, shh, Bob, turn your things down. It's right. Bob, like, turn your stuff down. Well, I suppose one of the things that that I've been kind of curious about, and you've got your stick with you.
Yeah, sure.
You've got a capo on it.
Yeah.
So can you show us that really quickly? What you've got here?
Yeah, I can just hold it on my lap.
Sure. And that's Emmett in the background. He's getting warmed up.
Emmett in the background. That's right. Sorry, capo.
Yeah. Yeah. So like,
why would I do that?
I guess you're pulling on.
Yeah, basically, I put it on originally with the idea that I would do a lot of pull-offs, kind of strums, droning, maybe playing even like a guitar a little bit, and then tapping over here, like that kind of. And then I found I would be doing the gig, and I would change it to a key that was not necessarily matching this over here. The paper was even there. and I'd be playing, and every once in a while I would do a reflex and it would ring, but I figured out that it wasn't that bad, that I didn't feel like I needed to have the damper here, even if I was, like, say, in the key of C sharp major or something, which isn't matching the notes over here.
So what is that kind of? That would be. Is that a low?
It's right here on the first fret.
So that's a C then?
Right. Yeah, we go down. This would be it'd be a G on this.
What keys are good for that?
Well, the stick itself, it's chromatic. The key's good for this. Anything that involves an E, an A, D, minor or major, kind of a deal. And then I put it on the melody side, and I didn't like it because I actually found that when I pulled my fingers off on the melody side and played, I needed the damper. It's kind of interesting. The left hand didn't really need it, and the right hand kind of did need it. And plus, I'd run into it. And the last thing is I changed, sometimes like for Blackbird, I'll move it up to here because Blackbird is open G, and then I could do that little pull-off guitar kind of thingy.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, tell me about, like, something that I've noticed that I've always kind of enjoyed is the way you just attack with your left hand. It seems like there's something going on in your left hand where you're able to. And I remember from the Tom G gig that you did, that Mira Costa.
Yeah, right.
I remember seeing where it's just like you got more satisfaction of playing with the left hand. It was kind of more fun to explore there. So I've kind of felt part of what makes the stick magic is what goes on in the left hand.
Yeah, the left hand has all that range.
Okay.
It's the third part. I mean, you can do some tricks in the right with a finger and that, but it's really got that. Like, to me, that's a fundamental chord where you have a root, an octave, and a third. Mm-hmm. And then you can move your bass like this, or move these linear like this up here. So you have three parts.
I see.
Two here and then right here.
And I've also noticed you do some kind of tricks with the thumb also. You've got a way of, like, a very unique way of fretting things in the right hand.
Just playing the extra notes up here.
Okay.
So like that, like a claw. And then the newest one for me is doing it actually on the bass.
Now, do you use that on your left hand as well?
I used to use my thumb on my
I seem to
left.
recall that, yeah.
I had a period of time for about 2 years or so where I actually did a lot of stuff with the left because the logic went, you can play four fingers with the left hand like this. Mm-hmm. And I practiced at it, and it was one of those things that, you know, a lot of times you got to put a lot of time into something to find out it doesn't work.
Kevin was just talking about that. He's like, I tried this part, and he's like, I had to redo it.
There's a couple artifacts left over that I can still do that are cool. I can pull it out, and it's a different sound. Mm-hmm. But as a fundamental sound, I found that my arm would get too tired, and I like to feel better.
Yeah.
So I thought 9 fingers is about right.
Yeah, and Kevin does some stuff with is he using the thumb? He's like slapping him and stuff with the thumb. And that's a question to anyone there.
Or anybody? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that's what he does.
And at some point, Rob, if you wanna let Samson and Steve and Wayne ask some questions here, you know, we're like, go right ahead because we've got plenty of time here.
Yeah, if anybody has any music or any kind of question.
Yeah, don't be shy now. Come on, Samson. What do you got?
All right, Bob, I've been a huge fan of your music. I've probably ripped you off as a stick player more than any other stick player out there. Do you play the acoustic stick much anymore? And why haven't you pressured Emmett to make those for everybody else?
Well, I'll tell you exactly what's going on with that. You know what, we could angle that just a hair for more of the instrument and stuff. Basically, with the acoustic, I can't. I'm having some problems with the pickup on it, and I'm still trying to figure out the best combination of pickups. I liked what I got as far as the CD. I kind of like it. It worked, and of course, I was able to go in the studio and tweak a little bit with the EQ and stuff. Mm-hmm. And the other problem was the way the guy had built the surface. It was really thin, what you're supposed to do with an acoustic, and it started to buckle just a tiny bit, and it's fragile. Mm. So I started feeling nervous taking it places, and I was having trouble with the pickup. So I haven't been playing it as much, and I want to get all that resolved. I have talked to Emmett about making them, and we are very slowly been working on that. And I have a new design. I can just tell you sort of briefly, with a smaller body. Mm-hmm. Make the wood a little durable, a little bit, just a tiny, because it's top heavy.
Mhm.
And then don't worry quite as much about the acoustic, like trying to dial in the what do they call it? The surface. There's a word for it. I can't think. The vibrating plate.
Oh, you got it.
There's a. Anyway, the skin of the guitar, where they try to do the exact bracing and get the maximum vibration and the maximum strength. Back off a little bit, like a jazz guitar is, because it's more solid. Mm-hmm. And then maybe put a small magnetic pickup at the bridge and then a mic inside and get a little less acoustic, but still be acoustic, but be solid and get that sound.
I see.
So that's something we're talking about trying to do, and it's just a matter of finding the time and wherewithal to do it. Yeah. And I may have to find another luthier to work on the body and stuff.
Do you think that would ever be available in for mass consumption or like?
Well, that's the other reason.
Yeah.
It would make it a little more mass consumptionable.
Okay. Yeah. See, that's because I'm sure other people have why isn't there an acoustic version? And I've seen some. I use the term copycat. I don't mean that in like a derogatory way, but kind of like copycat instruments that are a single neck that have two separate outputs and a similar tuning. They're not Chapman stick, but they look like a Gibson 335.
Yeah.
Like those big. There's some of those nice ones. There's a great. I think he's a Japanese player. He plays something like that.
There are some out there. Okay. Things like that.
Now about like
Samson, did that answer?
I was going to say about 13 or 14 years ago, when Emmett was first developing it, he played it for me over the phone without it amplified. But I'm sure that he put the phone like right next to the sound hole or something. How is it to play it without it being amplified? Could you just kick back on the couch or whatever, or wherever you're sitting and just play it and still be able to hear and get the feel, or is it necessary for it to be amplified?
Well, it's a good question. And first of all, part of the reason I even thought of it was because I like acoustic guitar music, which is the one thing I missed with the stick, like Leo Kaki or whatever. And the other is that I wanted an instrument that I could just have leaning against the wall and just pick it up and start playing, which you can with a stick, but it's pretty. You have to have a real quiet room. So to get to the acoustic, yes, you can actually do that. You can practice just fine with it without amplification. In fact, I had an idea, never implemented it, maybe one day, of either going to a cave or some kind of a special room that's very quiet, put a mic in the room, get an audience of about 8 people. That's about as much as you could do, and play an actual stick concert of maybe 45 minutes with no amplification. But it would have to be very, very quiet in the room. So it's like 60% as loud as an acoustic guitar, kind of a thing. So yeah, to answer your question, but it does work that. The biggest problem is not that; it's the fact that the melody side and the bass side are out of balance.
We're going to move the table.
Earthquake.
And where would you like to put?
Oh, you got to put that in here?
Yep, we're going to slide right back in. Okay, intermission. Okay, all right. See, there.
Oh, we're back in action.
We're back. They needed the table. So there you go.
Okay, cool. Anyway, yeah. So that's the other problem, is the fact that the melody side is a little quieter than the bass side. Yeah. So you have to.
Now, Emmett said that he changed the tuning on it to kind of balance that. Like on a 10-string stick, the lowest one I guess technically would be like a open E or a C, depending on the length of it. But he kind of took that out and then made the like the next string down. Did that help, or did you experiment with any different type of string thicknesses to try and balance that?
Yeah, I put heavy gauge on the melody and light gauge on the bass. That made it about as close as you can get, and I turned the tuning into, I guess it would be baritone. I was playing it as a baritone. It's a 10-string, so it would be baritone, 4th lower than standard tuning. Yeah, and that seemed to work the best. I found that the highest string kind of got lost a little.
Was it still a low C in the left hand?
Yeah, it was still the C.
Okay.
Oh well, yeah, a C, but you didn't have this note. You didn't have the big string.
Oh, okay.
And that's kind of funny because I actually found that the best sounding strings tended to be the lowest ones in the middle.
I see.
And I never went to it, but I thought this one actually we thought the lowest bass wouldn't work.
Okay.
And there may actually be a happy medium where it might be a low say instead of a C on the very lowest string, maybe it's an A, you know, like a third lower, and then it kind of comes out.
Would the gauge be the same like that?
Well, the gauge would be adjusted to whatever that would require that tension for that pitch, and of course you'd have to experiment with that.
Hey, should we let this guy back here on the action?
Oh, hey.
I mean that to happen.
Okay. Everybody wants a piece of the action. So if it's okay, maybe what I'll do, Emmett, is I'm going to go check my sound, and maybe you want to ask Bob some questions here and
Yes.
keep it going. Okay. All
Is
right.
there anything I need to control, or does Bob know what to do there?
Yeah, he's
Cameras.
come up here or anything, or does it matter? Yeah, I mean, there's a stool right here. I don't know if I need the stick. Well, I guess I'll hold on to it. I need the stick or not. And do it this way, get more room over there.
Camera ready. Here, now you're camera ready.
That's right, you are camera ready. Okay, even if we do that high up, and we're in a funny put it up that way.
There's a phone share right there.
You're gonna get a different? Okay. Oh, that might be lower.
Well, okay, no.
Either way.
You're good. I'll take the high one.
Just wanted to say I think this is the greatest Free Hands Friday that we've had so far.
Most definitely.
Couple chairs.
Absolutely.
Definitely
I know.
description of a hangout, you know.
This is a hangout.
Definitely
Yeah, we're
hangout.
hanging out. Moving to chairs. Now you know how to move furniture while holding onto a computer.
Okay. So,
Okay.
So there we are. All right. So this is Free Hands Friday. I guess Gene's already introduced that, right?
Yeah.
And Bob's down here from his home, still in Lakeport,
Still in Lakeport. Yeah.
right, on the shore of a lake. And I'm here from just the town next to Canoga Park, which is Woodland Hills. I had to drive 5 minutes. Bob had to drive 5 hours.
Yeah, about 9.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So, so Bob, let me see. Should we talk about the instrument I'm making for you?
Yeah, we can talk
Yeah.
about that if you like. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the shortened
Yeah.
scale.
Yeah. So Bob is has ordered a stick from me that would be specially built to be shorter by two frets.
Yeah, 2 frets.
Right. So the nut would be up here.
Right.
And when I watch Bob play, he and some of his latest songs, Beatles songs, I think maybe even the Gently Weeping Guitar and did you do Blackbird?
Blackbird.
Yeah, that you're playing up here. And sometimes you even put a capo up here.
Yeah, I have a capo here. Yeah, for that song. Right.
If the instrument is shorter and the nut is up here, the strings actually come down a hair lower, and the action is even faster and even lower. And it kind of feels like you've had an extra cup of coffee or something.
That's right.
What are you going to call that model?
It's going to be called, well, shall I say it?
I've never heard the name, so it's going to be a surprise to me.
Well, I did email it to you.
Oh, I missed it. Okay.
The bobbed stick.
Oh, the bobbed stick.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it has evocative meaning, but I'm not sure we'll go with that yet, but maybe we'll call it that. Otherwise, we won't call it. And if people like it, hear you play it, and they want to order one, I'll just have a special machining program made. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not too expensive to do that, and it'll become another model of the stick.
Yeah.
The tenors.
Part of it too was because playing the SG-12, I like that, but I just somehow wanted something, I don't know why, just in between.
It makes sense.
It's in between.
Watching you play, that's the feeling I got. I couldn't deny it.
If I may ask, is it a 12-string instrument?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's
a
sort of
12-string.
halfway between a grand stick and an SG-12.
Exactly. Right.
Interesting. It's very interesting. This is Robert Hayner. Pleasure to meet you.
Well, yeah. Yeah, same to you, in person.
Yeah, that's a very interesting concept. Yeah. I'm gonna mute and think about that. That's very interesting.
And if it turns out to be something that I can play, most all my stuff on, there's little it's a little more portable. Carrying it on airplanes would be easier. There's a lot of little minor benefits to it too.
Yeah, I just heard a video by Per Boyson that has some delicious bass notes in it on his SG-12, which is much shorter.
Yeah.
And so this instrument, like right now, it's 36 scale length, 36-inch scale length from nut to bridge, and that's how you measure the scale length. And the old ones were 34. So Bob's would be 32, close to 32.
Is that what it? 30?
I mean.
This is 36.
This is 36.
So that's about 4. Yeah, it'd be 30. Yeah, be about 30. Yeah, that's right, about 30.
Are you going to tune it out in 2 frets, or are you going to keep
same tuning?
So the SG-12 and alto sticks are about 25-inch scale length, 25 and a half, about what a guitar is. So it's closer to the standard stick.
Yeah, it is a little bit closer to the.
So anyway, that's
we're all talking before this got started about speculating about when the Grand Railboard might be coming out. Any idea of a timeline for that?
Last year I said it would happen last year, late in the last year, and it didn't happen. I've just been too busy to design it, to do the drawings and get it going. I know I'd sell a lot of them. I'm also a little reluctant to have the string spacing be close, and I'm also reluctant to have the weight be larger and the width of the board be larger. And so I've got to work to overcome that by making the whole instrument thinner. And now I know that I could safely make it thinner. As it is, it's 3/4 of an inch thick from the end of the keel to the top of the board, the end of the truss rod on the back side to the top of the board, and so I can lose 1/8 of an inch, so that'll help with the weight. But I don't know what to do about the width. I always felt that the grand stick was a conflict between comfort to the hand versus comfort to the fingers. Fingers need wider spacing. The hand needs closer spacing. So, but my inclination is just to make the whole thing wider and keep that wide spacing, almost as wide as on the 10-string. And people like Bob would be able to play it, and other people would, well, they'd have to place their hands over it. You forget about where your thumbs are. Your hands just play down on your shirt, on your chest, and it doesn't matter how wide it is, So there's that idea too.
Just off the top of my head. Well, what if you made it 11? You keep the 6 here. I mean, I'm sorry, I said that wrong. 11, you make this, the 6, and then this the 5.
Or
well, it could be up to the person's choice too. It was just
it's a good thought. It could be 11. It's not an even number. It's not pretty, but
it's not a pretty.
But we could do it.
Yeah.
And in fact, I could do it. I could try to do it on a 10-string stick to put 11 strings on there because there's room for it. But because the pickups are very precisely, they can't be moved and maneuvered around. So I have a middle spot. I have to put the melody strings, 6 melody strings spaced closer together, or else 6 bass strings closer together, which doesn't make sense. So on a railboard, I'd have to design a whole new block. Anyway, it's a whole lot of work, and I just haven't got to it yet. But I do plan to. It'll be very profitable, and a lot of people will play a lot of good music on it, of course.
I find that the thinness of the deck on the Railboard is very freeing. when I initially chose the Railboard, it was because of the keel. It allowed my thumbs a position to anchor themselves in the curvature of the keel. That being that the Railboard had a keel, it was the only stick for me. And what I found is, as I've gotten some more practice time on it, the thinness of the deck is actually giving me the confidence to go closer to the edge with my thumbs. And I can greatly expand my reach. I probably could play a 12 string with the thinness of the deck being as it is.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of loud in here. There's sound checks going on, so I think I got the gist of what you were saying, and no one has really praised that whole swept rear curve as much as you have, Rob, and for reasons that have to do with necessity, which you posted about and described. It seems to me that it wasn't so much trying for an improvement there for most people who like when I'm playing, I'm not very conscious of where my thumbs are in the back, but my right thumb is on the beveled edge, so that's pretty important. The left thumb is just all over the place. I don't really care what's going on there. So when I picked up a Railboard for the first time, it didn't make any difference. When Greg picked it up, he noticed a big difference because he's teaching those precise physical locations of the thumb. So everybody's going to be different in that respect. And like my mother said, you can't please everybody. Don't even try. So anyway, it's coming. And along with it, an alto version that will be a lot easier to find, and an SG-12 also.
Yeah, an SG-12 on the Railboard.
Yeah, the Railboards. Yeah.
That won't have a weight problem.
That's right.
Yeah.
So
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, let me ask you.
Sure.
Can you describe a little bit about your current projects and what you're working on that you might be recording soon, or what you're doing music-wise?
Sure.
Either song arrangement or...
Yeah, I'd be happy to.
Yeah.
Well, I actually kind of coincidentally have 2 CDs coming out. They're almost at the same time.
The Beatles.
And there was actually 2 more.
2 more.
And it's weird. No, I hadn't. It's just I hadn't done anything.
Yeah.
Well, let me explain that a little bit.
Yeah.
Sometimes when I work on a project, and the Beatles a little different, I don't finish it because I'm kind of get a little tired of working on it after a while, and I just feel like I want to do this. And then I start recording that, and then I have a drummer I know, and so we started working on that project. So I kind of been going back and forth between them, but they're all kind of wrapping up around the same time period. One of them is me and Rick went in the studio 2 times, and we went for about 5 hours each session.
Wow.
And just sat down, and we played a little before. It's not total, but we just improvised. Now we had structure.
You played over a couple decades together.
Only once a year on average, twice a year.
Oh.
We really haven't played all that much,
Okay.
even though, yes, it has been over a long period of time each other, but we've never done a regular gig. And now we're trying to do something we're actually going to play more often and promote. So anyway, the concept is album's called Cause and Effect, and the idea is that we look at each other the whole time, and he does something, I do something, we do something, play a rhythm. So it's a call and response. It's the concept of the album.
And that's a form of improv.
It's a form of improv.
It's a special form of improv. And it's always nice to be able to define the word improvisation. People get tired, and it goes in one ear and out the other. So you could use other words for it. So
yeah,
that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, so there's not a lengthy drum solo or a lengthy stick solo. It's kind of interwoven.
Cause and effect.
Cause and effect. And then the other one is the one that a lot of you already can hear a lot of the songs on. It is on YouTube. There's some songs that are not on YouTube that are going on the CD. I started out trying to write a concerto, and I'm not writing all the parts. It's a sketch, meaning I would be like the piano player writing the piano part, and then I would take it to somebody else to do the orchestration. I'm not writing violin parts and horn parts. Never got that far. However, I did finish 2 pieces. And so the 2 concerto sketches are going to go on the CD as well. And that's the color CD, and you can listen to a bunch of the songs already because they're the ones that I post. And the concept behind that is either arrangements that are constantly moving. So the song, it's not a song structure, it's like it starts out with an idea rather than A, B, A, B. It's like A, B, C, D, E, F, G kind of a thing.
So is this written on the stick or on paper?
Stick. A little bit on paper, like to outline some ideas and stuff, but primarily on the stick.
So it has to do not just with music of it, but the technique as well, because the technique leads you into different permutations.
Right, which is exactly what people ask. They go, do you write it on paper? Do you write it on the stick? Do you improvise it? Or do you think it out ahead of time? The answer is a little bit of each. You might play something on a stick and go, I like that. I don't know where this can go, but let me kind of look at it over here and manipulate it. Or you might go, that's kind of a neat. What happens if you play 2 chords that are totally unrelated, try to find a note that's common? This is in my head, right? I'm just making this up. And then you try to make it out on the stick and play it. So writing to me can come from anywhere. And, you know, a lot of it does come from just trial and error on the instrument. There's something about the instrument that really allows you to do that.
So
well.
is this on paper or on computer? Is there a particular program you use?
No, just scrabbled on paper.
Oh, okay. And when you do that, are you using notation or do you have your
Little
own
bit.
system?
Yeah. I just make notes.
Do you use a lot of numbers?
Not too much. Chording numbers, but not too much. It's more a thing like it'll say C7 flat 9, and then I'll write the note. What if I took that note and that's common to the chord I just played? And then I write the 2 chords down on paper and go, what happened? And then I try to play that.
A polychord? Does that become a polychord?
No, it's just the idea that, say a chord has 5 notes. I pull 2 of them out, like the 3rd and the 7th. And then I take the next chord, and I take those 2 notes and keep them. And I take the other 3 and play different notes, random, whatever they are. Instead of a C, it's a C sharp. And then that forms a 5-note chord. So then are the 2 notes that are in the 2 chords common enough to make it sound like it's going somewhere?
Yeah, I call it
jazz.
Well, I'm just only saying that's a way of thinking of it. And that's only one small part. I'm just saying that's doing it on paper. That's what I do on paper. That's all. But sometimes it's just play a chord and then find a note and then change the shape to something else and see if you can find something that works. Just listening to it.
Well, if you take an element of a chord, you put it in one hand, say your right hand, and then with your left hand, you move somewhere else.
Right.
You have intermoving voices that are gently moving, which is a nice principle of composition. You don't just bizarrely, like guitar players who play bar chords, they're shifting gears.
They're shifting the whole picture.
Right? You go from C to G
to
F and to E flat and back to...
But here you have that and you can move this, or vice versa.
So you get gentle intermoving voices, which is always a nice thing going back to classical music.
Right. Well, that's what the stick lends itself so well to, is you can just manipulate one thing here, one thing there, and constantly work with it. Now, I think the stick is probably, out of all the ways of writing, to me, the instrument itself is is the primary method of writing. It's
so great to hear that. Various players, they write and compose with the stick, and I always thought that's a total bonus for me, because that wasn't my intention.
Right.
My intention was to improvise with it, do it live,
right,
and to play song arrangements, which I still do along others. Hi, Don.
Yay! All right. Welcome back from your trip.
Thank you.
What are we doing?
Oh, we're looking at a computer screen.
We're free hands Friday.
Free hands Friday.
Excellent. My hands are free. You need me?
It's Friday.
Right here. All right.
Pull up a chair.
Yeah, why don't you pull up a high chair?
Yeah.
I'll go get one. I'll be back.
Otherwise, he'd just be looking from the bottom.
Yeah, his head would be.
That's not good.
I think we're going to bring that up a little higher.
Well, we can just turn that screen.
That's true.
Yeah, we just pull it forward. Seems to be pretty good right now.
Reminds me of something Jay likes. I like to look more cerebral.
There you go. Well, that's true. So, yeah, you guys have other questions about what we're talking about, or anything different?
I just kind of like being a fly on the wall here.
Okay, well,
Yeah,
we'll go on.
We can go on. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, since we've stopped for a moment, I would like to interject before I forget. Emmett, you were kind enough to send me a free copy of Pixel God, and I absolutely love it.
Yeah. Oh, well, you're very welcome. I hope you enjoyed it. It was done in 1985, and there were 4 of us on that album. Yeah, here's Don.
Was I on it? What happened? I missed.
He was thanking us for Parallel Galaxy.
Excellent.
I
Thank you. Good job.
Greg actually mastered that LP.
Your battery is very low.
We got to talk
You might
fast.
have to get tech support.
I'll go get tech support.
Somebody fetch Gene.
We're going to be like,
Yeah.
I don't know what the percentage is down there. Not a good
Okay, well, now we're restricted by the blue belt, but we could still talk a little longer, I guess. So
I actually had a question.
tonight I'm going to be
So I was just curious. I also have Galaxy, and it's a fantastic album. And I was wondering if there will ever be a sequel.
I recorded that over about a month in my own bedroom studio in Yucca Trail.
It seems we've lost Emmett. Stephen, can you hear Emmett at all?
No, he's gone. I can't hear it at all. Maybe their battery finally just died.
Yeah, I think that's what happened. I think maybe the battery was lower than they realized.
Oh boy, I'll never get an answer to my question now.
There's only another 30 years you gotta wait. We'll be fine.
He was saying, okay, I'm only gonna say this one time.
Yeah, exactly. Oh well.
Yeah, I think maybe we should just talk amongst ourselves. After all, we are still on air. We can't have dead air. That's not right.
Hey,
Show
this
must
has
go on.
still been. If Don would have came on and given a great musing or something, this would be like the greatest episode of Freehand Friday we have ever had. It's like star-studded and just.
Well,
Yeah,
has Emmett ever been on before?
No, never could make it happen.
And this is like kind of like burying the lead here by having. I mean, obviously it's amazing to have Bob and to have Don, but Emmett.
Don't forget about Kevin.
Amazing.
Yeah, don't forget about Kevin Keeves.
No, and Kevin. No, it's fantastic.
And I guess we can throw Gene in there too. Why not? but, but no, I mean it's just I think Emmett was on like as a guest one time.
Was he?
I think it was
No.
not as like remember was it with Jim Riley or something? We were talking about the book.
Oh yeah, he
Something
did.
like
He was a special surprise guest for
Yeah.
Jim episode. That's right. Yeah.
Because I remember that one, but
Mhm.
Yeah, but I don't know if he's ever been the main guy.
I did break the internet. That's all I do, man. Irony is, I'm trying to get into IT as a profession, so.
It sounds like you're well on your way. You know how to break it.
Now I need to know how to fix it.
I mean, do you know how to unplug it? Wait 30 seconds and plug it back in.
You're muted.
Have you turned it on and off again? Yeah.
All right, somebody tell Gene that he's muted again.
I leave for 5 minutes.
There we go.
All
It's
right.
Steve's fault, man. You'll see when you watch the video back. It's totally Steve's fault.
All right.
Okay. Look, Alex.
So what are we doing?
We're going to do this for a few more minutes.
Okay, I'm just on my own. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, Michael, you want to ask some questions?
Either way, or I can just talk to everybody. However you want to do it. Yeah, I'm easy. That's
So
no
what did
problem.
Emmett say about the second album?
Well, he didn't actually. We
He said,
got
"I'm
cut
only going to say
off,
this
but,
once."
he said that he was. I know. He was just talking about the first one, but he didn't really iterate too much into what he was going to do for a second album. At least I didn't hear him say anything. So it'd probably be a good idea for him to make an announcement, or at least tell the stick world what his plans are.
You're talking.
Like posting it on the Stickist or something.
Are you talking about Emmett?
Yeah. Did he say anything about the second album?
He has never didn't mention it to me, and my head was all in the camera, so
Yeah.
I didn't hear exactly what you guys were. I know you were talking about your 2 albums.
Yeah, but about Emmett's, yeah, I don't know. So I'm sorry to say I'm not sure, but it's probably a good idea that at least people can get an idea, because that would be nice to know.
Well, his first one I've never heard anything like it. There's
Yeah.
harmonic things in there that are totally unique, and that's my favorite kind of music is idiosyncratic artists that have their own sense of harmony and melody, and that's Emmett all the way.
Yeah.
But I actually
It's
did
kind
have
of
a
funny
question
that
for
he
you.
invented an...
Oh no, please go on.
Oh, well, I was going about Emmett just real briefly, and that is that I always think it's funny that he invents this instrument that's different than the average instrument, and it's different than a guitar. So just by itself, he's on his own, and then you take all the stick players and put them all in a room, and you only listen to them, and you know which one Emmett is, because he plays so differently than everybody. It's pretty amazing.
That instrument lends that instrument lends itself for that, though. I mean, I hear that.
Of
I hear
course.
every stick player. When you listen to them all and study them, I could hear you a mile away. You know, Emmett a mile away.
It originally for his own playing.
I know.
It wasn't. He didn't sit there and go, "I'm going to invent this instrument because I want to sell a bunch of them," and it ended up going that way. Which is great.
About Emmett's playing, it's like, Bob, like what you were saying with what you're doing with your album, where it's like conversational with the drummer. He is sort of conversational with his own hands when you listen to him play. It's like his hands are like question and answering each other or finishing each other's parts. It's a big movement for him. It's like all one instrument, where sometimes we think of it in parts or as 2 instruments, where he's just kind of blending everything together.
Yeah. 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 And he is back.
And this is the metallized instrument. Aerospace firm did this. They're very slow at getting things done. And it's 4 layers over the aluminum. Then a thick coat of nickel that makes, and then so we got nickel, chrome, gold, and bronze. So I just got the 3rd one. Tony Rodriguez has the back in New Jersey or Delaware, somewhere back there, has the but the nickel one, darker, subdued look material. It's not gold. It's not gold-plated, but it's something else. Zirconium sounds really expensive, but it isn't. It's very thin, molecular thin. And underneath it is chrome in case it ever wears down. But it doesn't seem to wear down at all because this for chisels that you hammer and coatings for drills, cheesy looking color that they put on the end of drills. And it's meant to last a long time. So anyway, this is what it looks like on the back side. Excuse me. There it is. And the back side is always more interesting on a railboard than the front side. Well, that's what it looks like.
I like the wafer thinness it appears to look like on there.
Oh, at an angle.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know. Yeah, let's paper thin.
And it doesn't show up on camera, but on the back, keep going, keep going. No, that's not it. Can't see it now, but it seems to have like these little scallop lines in it.
This way?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, those are tool cutter marks, and I didn't have them sandblasted away. So,
Yeah, it looks cool.
You probably never get that resolution.
That won't show up on camera.
No, can't.
Yeah, we can't see it.
Yeah, it looks like scales.
So the next one will be bronze, a little darker version of this gold, with brushed between the frets, and then the shiny frets.
That'll be good. There's some difference between
Yeah.
And so when you play it, the tips are the all-important thing. This is all about the tips of the rails. And this material is so smooth and so hard that there is no scratching sound at all. Nothing like what you get with stainless steel frets when I first polished them with 320 grit sandpaper. Nothing like the Railboard aluminum oxide anodizing job that has its own porosity. This is solid, and when you bend the notes, you hear no violin sound at all to it. It's just very smooth.
Playing on glass.
Yeah. Should try it.
I will try it, and I'll want one.
Yeah, it feels really good. Has a nice, it's comfortable.
Can't hear it, but I'm great. What I'm playing.
So, Bob, I got a quick question for you.
Hey, that's supposed to be in the T-shirt. Dang, it.
Every note, every chord you're playing is the wrong one.
Oh, there's the problem. Gorgeous, the action is so low. It's actually playing before I play it. That's how good this is.
Now there's a slogan for
it. To take you right out of your head, right to the board.
It draws your fingers onto the future.
So you guys familiar with the Railboard? Any of you have one or seen it or played it?
Rob has one.
Railboard, yeah. It's black with aqua glow linear inlays, and the inlays are very broad, so they're very, very easy to see. And as I saw the first time I put it in its case, it glows so brilliantly. I'm looking for excuses to play in the dark. It's just amazing. And those jeweler's marks.
Oh, really? That's gotta be.
Yeah, and those jeweler's marks.
The what now?
The cut marks on the back of the Railboard that Emmett was discussing, that won't show up on the camera for this.
Yeah.
With the black, they're especially beautiful because they're in sort of shades of gray, and it looks like a charcoal on canvas. It's very nice.
Right.
I know it was a nice discovery, and it happened early after the first production of 26 railboards, sandblasted with very. It was very, very smooth and matte finish. But when I thought, okay, I don't want another pair of hands on this instrument between the machinist and the anodizing. It worried me a lot. It was also expensive to polish them, get them ready, and then sandblast them. I didn't want that extra care done it, so I thought, let's bypass the whole thing. So I asked my machinist, he says, we don't do textures. Just between the frets. He said, no, we do no brushing, no grinding, nothing like that. And I said, well, what about?
Get you sound check.
Me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Get both of you sound check.
Oh, in that case,
Okay.
we'll give that back.
Okay, go ahead, Don. You can go ahead and
Okay.
sound check, and then I'll sound check
The
last.
beauty of it, it's a mirror finish. I was able to do finishing touches on my hair while I was there. looking at it.
Don Schick, bacon, Mr. Don. Right here.
Sound check.
Extra advantage. You get to use it as a mirror when you watch you.
That's right.
So, so to complete that story, I asked my machinist, instead of putting a texture on it, why don't you just do about 1,000 cuts all along the spaces, across the spaces between the frets, and make it look kind of like corduroy. So we tried it. We tried various different textures, coarse and finer, and we both agreed that the one that looked like a whole lot of guitar strings running across the frets this way would look the best. So that's how we came up with the texture. And since that's the main visible part of the instrument, I thought, okay, I'm going to dare to have them hard anodized, just like this, bypass the whole thing. Cheaper, easier, less scary for me. Then when we got them back, I looked on the back side, and I saw that beauty that you're talking about, Rob, of a kind of a textured, gradiated texture from the back side that really surprised me. I was very pleased with it. All I can hope for is that it's happened now in 3 productions. This last one being a run of 100. So I think it's here to stay.
I will knock out.
Oh, Emma, I just thought of this because they were asking about your parallel galaxy.
Oh, yeah.
And if you were planning on coming out with the second parallel galaxy.
Oh, yeah. That would be the
tangential, exactly. The perpendicular one. Perpendicular galaxy.
Okay, we've had the parallel galaxy already. So I do like going off on a tangent. So I think tangential is the way to go because it goes all the way to infinity.
That's right.
And back.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
If you do a second album, you could call it Perpendicular Galaxy.
Oh, I've seen them. I've seen them like
that. They are like that. Yeah.
Yeah, this happens.
In fact, we're supposed to crash into one in several billion years.
Actually, I had another question too about the stick design for Emmett. I've always been curious if it's ever been considered to create an instrument something like a 12-string guitar where you have courses with the same notes. So,
your companion strings?
Yes, like a mandolin or a 12-string guitar, but as a tapping instrument.
Courses could be several things, like you could have the same tuning over and over again across 4 strings, 4 strings, and 4 strings. You don't mean that kind of courses.
It doubled. Like octaves or
you mean like a guitar?
Yeah.
So I never wanted to do it because you would have a whole lot of look how big the headstock would have to be. It would be horrendous. And thank you. Red wine.
Little plug here for Lorimar Winery. Yep. See, this is the bottle that I got for you on it last time, but it didn't make it to your house in time. It was drinking.
Well, we drank some of your wine. You brought it over. Oh boy.
What kind?
Cheers.
Cheers to everyone in the stick.
Yes.
All right.
So the companion strings or double strings is harder to tap on, just intuitively. But when the action is as low as it is on the stick, that might not matter too much. It doesn't you can't hardly notice a difference tapping heavy gauge or light gauge. There is a big difference, but it's not in the vertical tapping motion onto the string. It has to do with lateral motion, has to do with sound and feel, but the instrument is so uncompromisingly low in the action that you can have any gauge string set on there, and it'll tap equally well. for the vertical motion of tapping. So if you're in a recording studio and you have a heavy gauge, they'll really ring out. They'll ring. They'll have, and that ring is the octave above the fundamental you're playing, and the fifth above that, and maybe some other nearby harmonics. But it's the closer harmonics to the fundamental, which they also call a harmonic, by the way. Total misnomer. Fundamental being the first harmonic. So what I'm saying is, going off on if you have double strings, it's going to be a little harder to tap. You're sacrificing the neutrality of the stick for a special effect, a sonic effect. You could do that with an electronic effect. So, and this stick came about. I had 3 wah-wah pedals like Jimi Hendrix and the spring reverb, and I was always looking for that third sound, something that would sustain. So the idea of doing a double string companion string instrument just didn't make sense to me. And if somebody ordered it, I'd be hard put to build it because I'd really have to crowd things together, and I'd have to redesign all the hardware and everything. So it cost mucho dinero. Yeah.
Fair enough.
That answers your question, Rob?
Yeah, right now.
Absolutely. Thank you for taking the time to answer my question.
Oh, good. You got sporadic sound there? You come through minutes later.
Yeah.
Oh, he's silent.
Do you want to mention the new small rails?
Oh, yes.
I got one here.
Good idea.
Can't see it, of course.
Put that over there. Yeah, absolutely. Good. You want to talk about?
Well, we can, but just tell them what's going on. I'll chip in if I got something to say.
Okay, this is Mike Johnstone's instrument, and it's one of those pretty ones because it's got this very honey-like tan bamboo that's nondescript. I call it Zen-like. Like a Zen carpet. But turquoise recon stone linear markers that you can see from the side too. And so what it is the essential grand stick with the simplest pickup. It's still one of the best. And I'm thinking of putting a stick up in a railboard too, but it'd have to be designed all over again. So Michael has the lapdog, of course. And you don't need, well, you can't see that, but there it is on my lap, and there I can play very nicely.
Talk about the small rails. The
frets? The small rails, yes.
NS.
So, yeah, thanks. So, okay, what happened? The small rails, they're diamond shaped. They're square stock, stainless steel square stock. And I used to use 3/16. Now I'm using 1/8. That's 2/16. That means they're 2/3 the size. 2/3 the size of the other ones. Well, I didn't think I'd ever be able to get away with that because of resolution issues. Machining the wood, cutting the slots, the cellular structure of the wood. And I thought, boy, I'm going to have to play it safe. I'm going to have to larger, everything larger. Then I can deal with the frets. So very late in the game with the NS stick, I tried these smaller 1/8 inch size rail, and was working really well, and they dressed really well, and they required less work. the dressing and the bass relief and all that easier. And I could bypass a couple steps of filing and crowning that I had been doing before. So everything became easier, cheaper, lighter weight, so why not? So then I implemented them in the grand stick, and now this next run of 10-string sticks will have these smaller rails as well. So the question was, will it be safe to do that? Or will the distances and the dimensions be too close? The tolerances really wouldn't accept the smaller size. But it works really well, and so I've gone ahead with it after proving it in the NS stick.
I like it. Yeah. When you first delivered this to me, it was like a shock, those small little rails. But when I got it home and started playing it, none of the things I feared really took place. You know, I'm able to do all the techniques that I want to do.
Yeah, there's been, I think, 2 other players who had the same reaction. It's like they used to be, you know. So
I always liked big frets when I was a guitar player. You know, I played blues guitar for 30 years, and I loved the frets, the big frets, you know, so you could bend them and control them. And I kind of expecting the same sort of thing, but the technique is a little different. You know?
well, everything is lighter, everything's more subtle, and the use of effects the same way, electronic effects. Everything is reduced. If you want to damp something, like you could put a piece of gauze right here at the highest fret, very filigree gauze, like take a piece of yarn. I better give this back to you. And you got your wine too.
That's
Ooh, I got wine.
I can put it over here.
No, I got it.
You take a piece of yarn, maybe strand it in half, place it under the highest fret side, because with all the right bluesy notes, flat sevenths, flat fifths, minor thirds, all the good things. Then every note you play is an interval. That's what a ring modulator does. So what I'm saying is you take the subtle, if you want to make the sound of the stick like a sitar, you put something at the bridge that is much, much thinner than you'd ever expect for a guitar or anything else to make that happen. So with the stick, when you're playing it, the lighter your touch, the better. The faster, the more expressive. And when you do effects, you don't have to use muscle. You just, it's more mental.
Yes, yeah.
More mental. So I tell people that, they say, is it a challenge to play the stick? And I say, not physically, but mentally, yes. And so that's my hard sell.
And you're sticking to it. And that was not actually meant to be.
Yeah. Moment of silence for any questions coming.
Yeah, we give it a few seconds just in case anyone's delayed. Mike, while you're here, I want to take the opportunity to thank you for the lapdog. It is absolutely amazing, and there's a common theme of I have very specific requirements that other people don't have, but it's that much more amazing when my requirements are met, and the lapdog is absolutely perfect for me. In fact, when I adjusted it recently at my most recent practice, the degree of adjustability, the granularity of the adjustment, was absolutely perfect. And I thought to myself, it could never work any other way for me. And I just wanted to let you know that it you know, I'm just one person, but it's absolutely fantastic for me.
Well, I hope it hit the mark. You know,
Do they want you back there?
I watched people stick a wood, you know, for
Oh, the stick.
the stick, but you know, and it whatever works. But you know, I wanted. It seemed like it should just be part of the instrument and fold up, and I just wanted to see if I could, how far I could take that idea, and still kind of get what you get.
Yeah, it works great.
Yeah, you got one.
Yeah, I got one. Works great. Love it.
So,
I have my wood on one and that on the other one. And you're right. I mean, you just pull it out of the case. And, I mean, the thing about it is that you can just lean your instrument against the wall, and if you walk in a room, it's just sitting. You can just go like that. And I don't know why. That seems to make a difference in when you have 10 minutes to practice, and you just go, oh, I'm just going to noodle around. Of course, that ends up being an hour anyway.
Yeah, you don't have to strap it on and all that stuff.
That's funny. That's how I felt. You loaned me the Acoustic after I put it together, and you had it for a while.
Yeah.
And then I had it at my house for a few months. And I'd sit down and play that thing, and it was like I practiced more then for some reason. Its presence encouraged me to play more. So maybe the lapdog is like that too. That you put what it's convenient on your lap to make it so it's instantly accessible. Because after all, it is a problem to turn on all your sound equipment, put the strap on, and put it into your belt. And but there are other instruments where it's even more of a problem, I suppose.
That's probably, really one of the reasons so many people play guitars. They have an acoustic. Most houses have an acoustic guitar leaning against a wall somewhere, and you're sitting in a room talking, socializing, and you just kind of go, oh, I'm just going to noodle around.
Sure.
Yeah, it's
interesting.
Nature of musical instrument. Just think what a contraption a piano is, and what kind of marketing must have gone on to get it into every household. How the heck did that ever happen?
It's so big. Yeah, I know.
Well, it happened because of classical music. The weight of it, the sheer weight of classical music, and the sheer weight of the piano as a contraption. If you look at all the levers and keys, and the heck, how could you possibly market that? A guitar makes so much more sense. Well, we had a very bizarre musical period of classical music. I think that caused that to happen. I call it bizarre because it was incredibly ornate and elaborate and orchestral. New in human music.
The thing, though, I think with this instrument, you were able to accomplish what people have done on piano as far as what you can actually physically play it, with two hands.
Yeah, I feel proud about that.
Yeah, and it's an incredibly fascinating instrument to me because it's portable as a guitar, but yet it's complete as a piano.
It's like a very portable grand piano that you can take up into a college auditorium and wheel the Bosendorfer aside and get rid of the humidifier too, and just take, okay, the sound system's pretty heavy. You get to go up there with the appearance of having something very lightweight, easy to play, and fill the room with music like a grand piano would do, and then some, because it has driving bass and has your fingers directly on the strings, so without any effects at all. And so Bob likes to play that way. I guess he uses something to make his music more comfortable that might be a very subtle compression going on. I'm not even sure that I shouldn't say, because he had to go do a sound check now. It's clean stick, let's say unprocessed stick, and I'm very proud of that too. And I did that for about 10 years. Now I'm back to effects again, because I have to have that third voice. I need a sweetener, stains, selected notes. And because I switch keys a lot, switch tonalities and key centers. So that's where my performance is at tonight, how I'm going to play tonight. Hey,
Sure, sure.
I got to take a telephone call, and Mike's going to take over for the minutes here.
Yeah, we're right in the middle of a gig here, so bear with us. Oh, here we go. Here we go.
There we go. So I've got the NS stick, and it's got 8 strings for those that don't know, and it splits in the middle, right there, 4 and 4. I play with I play dry, but usually not a lot of effects, like wine. That's always
It's a good effect.
So I use I like a little compression. With the setup that I have, I tend to play the bass side like a bass, so lots of plucking. And then I came up with a way to get a pick sound without actually having to have a pick. And I use the flick. Just thought of that now, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, I have one.
Quit flicking.
Yes. So to get a bass, low bass note, and a chord at the same time, I just, it's like pointing like that. You do the little slap tap and then a strum, and then I could get the same. If I were to tap it, it would be where are we here? It would be like that. But then again, it would have that wonderful tap sound. And sometimes I just want that slap bass sound and a pick guitar sound. So that's just another way to do that. And they work. You can't hear it. No, it's integrate seamlessly when you tap and pluck and tap, and you're set. There you go.
Hey, Don, I have a question for you about a pivotal moment in your musical career that you always seem hesitant to talk about in a lot of interviews, and that is your involvement with the Muppets. And if you could elaborate on that, I'd appreciate it.
Oh, it was just a few years the Queen's party, so I was playing for Shirley MacLaine at the time, and so a bunch of other artists to go over and play. So I got to play in the Palladium, and so I'm waiting to go on, and the Palladium's beautiful, by the way, on the outside. When you walk in the entrance, where you sit down, all the little boxes at the top, gorgeous. Go in the back dressing room, it's a little different story. So lots of cement and old chairs, and really old chairs. I thought I'd find Elephant Man under one of the cushions. Bada boom! Anyway, so I was back there wandering around. I like to wander before I go on. I just relax, and you take there's a lot of rooms back there. So I was just wandering around, going from dressing room to dressing room, and I happened to see all these beautiful colors in one of the dressing rooms I went by. It just caught my eye. It was so fabulous. And so I turned around, and I went, the Muppets are on the show, too. This is incredible. And so I guess Jim Henson saw how excited I was. He goes, oh, come on in. So then they saw I had my bass on, my Rickenbacker, and they said, well, we need to get Floyd, the bass playing Muppet, out, and then they got Kermit the Frog out, and so they put them on my head and my side and posed them, and it's a highlight of my career. I loved it. I always wanted to be on the Muppet Show, and that's as close as I got. I'm not dead yet. Yeah. They may have a resurgence, and and I'll have a big enough career. They'll ask me to go on, and Kermit will go, I don't remember him, Don Treff! Oh!
So is that when you knew that you made it?
Sorry, say that again, please.
Is that when you knew that you had made it in the music industry?
Oh, yes. Very off-color joke there. I could have, with the Muppets and all that, you got to watch where they put their hands when you stand next to them. You don't want them to miss. Can't take the guy out of Vegas.
So
Don,
I had
moment was Rudolf Nureyev, and so I walked by him, and so I. Oh, you're cutting out.
Yeah, this has been
I think we're frozen. There you go. You're back.
Cutting out. All right, I'm back. Good. So I actually sent you an email as soon as I downloaded from Amazon the Peering Through Clouds album, just to tell you how great it was to hear the NS stick being used as an instrument, and it was an album of music rather than an album of NS stick music. And I've listened to that so many times, and the thing that really has stuck with me is just how good you are at writing songs. And I've also heard some of your vocal pieces as well. And I'm wondering, as someone who's also a songwriter, although, you know, not nearly as good of a musician, how do you approach writing a song for the stick? Either the NS stick or any stick with vocals?
Question. What I find that with the instrument, sometimes I'll write songs and the stick will never, or the NS will never make the track. What I love about these instruments are they're great writing tools, just like playing the piano. And so I feel very comfortable with the instrument, and so I get a melody. For me, melody comes first with the groove. Usually the groove first, or something that I want to feel emotionally, and I find the chord, I put a melody on over it, and it happens to be very comfortable with the sticks. What about the NS is my ability to be able to pluck and get the low bass note. So being a bass player, that always resonates for me. I really need that. And a lot of times I'll complete a tune, especially if it's for somebody else, and the stick never makes it. They listen to it and they go, oh, that sounds really good. And then we'll get a guitar player, and then we'll hire a bass player and a keyboard player, and I don't have any control over that a lot of times. It's just being a writer for a different artist. For myself, 99.9% of the time, the stick makes it. And I look at it to have its own speaking voice, not to necessarily replace any instruments like a guitar, because sometimes the guitar is perfect in there with the stick. So I don't make any.
Like Rainfall, did you start out with that being a stick song, or did you like maybe work on it on guitar and then go, hey, this could work on the stick? I mean, you know, when you actually sit down with it as if it were, you know, this is what it's going to be?
Right, yeah, that was pretty all at the same time. I think I had a 10-string stick at that time when I wrote that, and it was a wonderful bass and fifths line that worked really great. And then when the NS stick was invented, and I started to play that more, I went, oh, okay, now I got to transfer all my cool fifths bass lines over to fourths. And so the line feels the same, but it's different. I played on the it was strictly a tap through, but definitely a predominantly stick song. And when you write things like that, and it would be something that I would never have wanted to copy. Just some things I'm just really thankful that I write and they're natural to me, and then somebody asked me to teach it to them, and it's difficult. Same with if somebody else writes something on the stick, and then they go, oh, you know, play this with me, and I feel like I'm a beginner again. Just different sets of coordination. Some things just sit really well for me, but it just, we all have a natural flow of coordination that's easy for one, harder for somebody else. But it's always good to try and overcome those, and I have a little trick of just breaking it down, asking myself, when this finger does this, is this one going down or is it up? And then by noticing that and take it beat by beat, suddenly I'm that much better and can do things that I thought were difficult at first.
So in other words,
Incredible
sometimes you actually have situations where you have an effect in mind that you've never been able to do, but you think, well, I think if I work at this long enough, there's no it doesn't, you know, break the rules of physics or whatever. So I'm going to just keep trying until it happens.
Yes, and a good example of that is the last Rocket Scientist album. And my instructions from Eric were, write something gymnastic. So, okay, I can do that. So I wrote the piece, and then I thought, I can't play it that fast, so I had to take a week to just really rudiment it in my head and just back and forth, back and forth, and back and forth. And I wanted it to have the Ask for It by Name patented slide, carabiner. I had this one coated bronze, just so I could look that much special. Since Emmett has his gold one, I wanted to join the club. And then, yes, when I used a pick, I had one made out of, brass. So it's really gold, but not really.
Did it change the tone?
Yes, and I was so happy because I was in picks, medium gauge, and I thought, oh, okay, that really gives me the tone that I want. And then when I got the brass, I just brought something really nice out on the bass tone string. Just kind of get under it and lift it, and it just brought up a little funny, different tone I never heard before. So I went, oh, I have to make a lot of these. Stamp my name on them. By numbers. Oh, yes.
How rigid is that? Ooh, that's
yeah, rigid. I didn't want it to bend. But, however, the more you use it, it will curve a little bit to your finger, and I think it's a good thing. This is like had it for a month, so still working it out.
He says it'll curve to his finger. I don't believe it'll ever curve to his finger.
Well, sure it will. It'll look like
what'll happen is it'll happen in his head. They get used to it.
Probably.
So, Don, one of the things that I actually bought two sticks at the same time because they were available and I never had one, so I figured I'd get two of an instrument that I can't play. And I bought them from JRJ, and I know he knows you, and he speaks very highly of you as a musician and teacher. And one of the things that he told me was that that JRJ was afraid to let me play an NS because he thought I would never end up going to the traditional stick. So that's pretty high praise for the instrument itself. But the question I have is, what is it about the NS? I mean, obviously, you can play fluid bass lines on either instrument. You can write and play songs on either instrument. What is it specifically about the NS that attracts you to it, that you're attracted to so much?
Yes, I always say other because each of them have their qualities that the other doesn't. For the NS, just coming from a bass background, the ability to be able to pluck the low notes with fluidity like my bass, and better because of the action in the setup. That's usually why I pick that up first. I'm also a little lazy on tour, and I don't like to change instruments on the stage, so a lot of times I'll adapt what I do on my right hand on the stick to the NS, so I don't have to do that. Not always successful. With the stick, having the ability to grab the bass and fifths, play melody chords so that it doesn't sound like a muddy bass line, so I can capture the bass line, capture a chord, and then either augment it with a polychord or play a lick with it. You can't really do that so well. Well, you can't on the NS. My workaround for my left hand on the stick is, so I'll have let's pretend it's a stick and I've got the thick bass note in the middle, and then I reach over and capture my melody, usually an octave and a fifth. The workaround is that I will play it there and then reach over to my melody side and grab that same kind of chord. However, I've now used these strings and I've got to work within here, so it's not a perfect solution, but makes for some other nice kind of playing and style.
But then you also have the issue of when you are plucking on it, because the action is so low, you probably do have to have a lighter touch. I mean, I've heard on peering over clouds, for example, there are times when you're really digging in. I forget the name of the second track, but it sounds almost like Rickenbacker-ish in places.
Yeah.
And but I wonder, like, what's the threshold? I mean, having never played one, it's, I know, hard to kind of convey in a forum such as this. But
I've had to go through when I first picked up the instrument, and normally if I play bass, I would play in this area, and the string tension is very light. Not to say that's bad. It forces you to have a light touch, and you'll get your most beautiful tones that way. As Emmett has always told me, it's a nice light touch. And you don't have to bang to get it louder. You just tap a little harder or pluck a little harder. There is a wonderful thing of bass, of overplaying the string. It's a lot easier to overplay it in this area, and that's how I get that good Rickenbacker clack. When I don't want that and I want to feel my bass tension, then I just get a greater, and that satisfied me for a long time to feel. And so it became nicer, though, to really experience just having a slightly lighter touch and playing in here and getting that beautiful, gigantic bass tone. Very clear, not muddy, just big. And engineers rave that when they put it on teeny tiny speakers that they do just to check a mix, it just roars through there clean. They even joke and going, we can keep turning it down and we keep hearing it. It's still there. They enjoy that. It's wonderful in the mix how you can seat the bass through all kinds of music. I played thrash music, ballads, country. It just fits right in there. It's my first bass, actually, that I pull out when I do a section and they're not sure what they want. They always ask, bring 4 or 5 basses, and so this is the first one I pulled out. I just think it has the most beautiful big tone to sit up on. And then from there, they might go, well, we really want a P bass tone, or we want the Rickenbacker sound. And so then I'll pull that out. But I always say, well, I got a really good Rickenbacker sound out of this, too. That was kudos to Eric Norlander, the engineer and producer of Rocket Scientist and my Peering Over Clouds.
Now, on Peering Over Clouds, too, I've always wondered this, because I've listened to it. I know there's live percussion. There's definitely live percussion.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering, are some of those drums programmed?
No, it was all Greg Ellis, and we went over to his studio, and his looks like the Taj Mahal of Indian drums and drums from all over the world, plus another booth that has his drum kit in it. And so it was just, I didn't want to make him take his 100 and some drums out of the studio. Just easier to go to his. Took my tracks there, and that's how we got Greg on it.
It just has such a fat snare tone on there. I was always curious, like, what is that? That can't be. Like, because, I mean, it's ostensibly an independent recording, and it's got such a great sound. Very solid drums on there.
Eric used, I forget the program, I'm guessing it was Elastic Drums, so he did replace some sounds with that. So, in a sense, yes, they were, I guess, machine-oriented or samples, but the performances were live. So you just take, that's where Greg hit the snare. We can see the sound wave and where it started, and then he would replace it with something that he felt sat in the track better. So good ear, very good ear.
Yeah, no, it's just I started as a drummer, so I'm very, and I interned at a recording studio, so I'm always obsessed with sound and music.
Yeah.
And speaking of which, the NS stick, it uses EMG pickups, which were, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, originally designed for a Telecaster. In fact, I had a Tele with those pickups, those exact pickups. How did Emmett know? Emmett, how did you know that would work so well for capturing the low end of both the Chapman stick and the NS? Because it doesn't seem like a natural leap.
There's an irony here. It was Ned's suggestion, Ned Steinberger. We co-designed this, and he put me in touch with Rob Turner of EMG. Rob Turner gave me what he considers his best pickup. And so I got it and tried it out, and it was very bright. And I liked that because for the stick and for tapping, two-handed tapping in general, transparency is good. Thickness and muddiness restricts what you can do orchestrally, which isn't bad to have thickness and muddiness, but I'm loading my words, I'm sorry. But the clarity of the pickups and the sweetness of the sound up at the high frets because of no magnetic distortion whatsoever. The magnetism is very weak in these active pickups. That convinced me to use it for the NS stick, and it was really Ned that led me to that.
So Ned had some sort of intuition that it would work well for bass instruments.
Yeah.
It's like as the engineers term it, they say when you come in and you play the bass and the melody side of it as well, that all the frequencies are there, and we can always dial them out. But if they're not there, we can't dial them into an instrument. So it's a great instrument for subtractive mixing. Yay, team!
We should go to Kevin. Is Kevin doing
Let's get Kevin.
Let's get
You guys
Kevin.
want to take over for what? I think we're going to wrap it up.
Steve, you want to try and
Okay.
question to Bob?
Oh yeah, Bob. So one question I had, because I've seen you play at the Mountain View Wine and Art Festivals so many times. I actually would stand there and watch you, and I think you may even remember me just bugging you and asking you questions, and I'm sorry. But back when I lived in California. And one of the things I asked was if you would be able to play White Mountain, which is just like one of my favorite stick pieces. And I never got to ask you what was because it almost reminds me a little bit of like Gentle Giant and various other kinds of Baroque / classical / progressive rock stuff. And I'm wondering, like, what influences did you have for that particular piece of music? Because it's just like one of my favorite stick pieces.
Oh, thank you. A lot of the progressive groups, yes, and Genesis and PFM, if you ever remember them.
The Italian group.
The Italian group, yeah, which is a group that I really liked. And I kind of grew up in that era, listening to a lot of that kind of music. And I actually have quite a bit of that on the new album coming out, The Colors. Some of that kind of style. What was that?
Yeah, that was pretty neat. It took a picture.
You can take a picture. So.
Oh, it took a picture. Anyway, yeah. So that I hope that, yeah.
Sort of the finger-sticking style of playing.
That's more Leo Kottke and that kind of stuff. Yeah. Those influences. The finger-picking kind of thing.
But it
just comes from a lot. I'm sorry.
That's what you're saying, though, is basically the new album's going to have a lot of that sort of arpeggiated feel to it, and
you'll have an arpeggiated feel, and the arrangements they go all over the place. It's not like A, B, A. There's a little of that, but it's more like arranging a classical song, like just completely morph thing. More experimental, I guess is a good way to put it. I'm getting away from. I did the projects of the Celtic and that, and now I want to do something more kind of avant-garde. So it'll definitely be. Yeah. Thank you.
Hey Rob, how are we doing on time?
We're at somewhere around 1:40.
Okay.
Is that Rob Stafarian in there?
Yes, that is. Great to see you again, Kevin.
Hey, what's happening, my brother in technology?
Yeah, we had quite some fun, didn't we?
Conversation you guys had after.
Oh man,
it's so great!
No, man,
I would have paid for a ticket.
The other time.
It gets to be like the Big Bang Theory.
Oh God, exactly. Meets
Let me grab that
Yeah.
in here and we'll sign off.
Okay.
All right.
Let's say goodbye really quick.
We're gonna bring in Emmett, and
And the fancy dancy do.
Oh,
So I guess
Get the pictures
we're all
ready.
here.
no, we should do that right
Red
here.
chair.
So we're saying happy Freehands Friday to everyone. This has been 1 year that we've been doing it, so I want to thank you guys definitely.
Yay, thank you.
Thank you.
And thanks to the
everyone
Guitar Merchant for having us out here, and
Absolutely.
here's to another year of great Chapman Stick Freehands Fridays.
Yay.
Stick Nation, that's right, Tap Nation. Come together.
Nice.
Into another evening of stick music.
Right.
That's right.
Another evening of
Lots of
stick
video.
music.
There we go. Everyone, quick picture pose.
Jazz hands.
Quick.
Right, directness.
Goes off when the eyes are shut.
Yeah.
All right.
Wonderful.
Can we stop the broadcast?
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm afraid to hold it because I might not.